Welcome to Bridging Conversations, the channel dedicated to helping you navigate difficult discussions with empathy, confidence, and clarity. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or even avoided talking to a family member because of political disagreements, you're in the right place. Here, we provide practical strategies, actionable advice, and real-life examples to help you transform tense conversations into meaningful dialogue. Every week, we break down techniques for active listening, respectful debate, and emotional intelligence so you can communicate effectively without sacrificing your peace of mind. If you're ready to stop arguing in circles and start connecting authentically, hit that subscribe button and join our community of compassionate communicators. Imagine this. It's Sunday dinner, and you're sitting across from a family member you love dearly. Everything seems fine until politics come up. Suddenly, the conversation spirals into tension, raised voices, and a sinking feeling that your relationship might be irreparably damaged. You've tried to avoid these discussions, but they keep coming up. You want to speak your truth, but you also want to keep the peace. In this video, I'm going to show you a practical, step-by-step approach to addressing political disagreements with family members without losing your cool, your dignity, or your connection. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to communicate your perspective respectfully, listen deeply, and even find common ground where it seems impossible. This isn't a generic, just be nice advice video. Everything I'll share is practical, research-backed, and rooted in real-world examples that you can immediately apply in your family interactions. Step 1. Prepare yourself mentally before the conversation. The first step in handling political disagreements with a family member is preparing yourself mentally. Many of us enter these discussions on autopilot, fueled by frustration or defensiveness. That's a recipe for arguments that go nowhere. Instead, take a moment to pause and set your intention. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve from this conversation? Is it to change their mind, to be heard, or simply to maintain respect and understanding? Here's a practical approach. Write down your goals before the conversation. For example, if your goal is to maintain respect, remind yourself, I will stay calm, listen actively, and avoid personal attacks, even if we disagree. This helps anchor your mindset when emotions rise. Let me share a personal example. I once sat down with a cousin who had very different political views from mine. Before the discussion, I spent 10 minutes journaling my intentions. I reminded myself that I wasn't there to win, but to understand. When the conversation started heating up, those few minutes of mental preparation made all the difference. I stayed calm, asked thoughtful questions, and actually felt heard by the end of the discussion, something that rarely happens in political debates. Mental preparation also includes setting boundaries. If you know certain topics trigger you, decide in advance how you'll respond. For example, if the conversation becomes personal or disrespectful, I will politely step away. This proactive approach keeps you in control, rather than reacting emotionally and escalating the conflict. Step 2. Listen to understand, not to respond. One of the biggest mistakes in family political debates is that we listen only to respond, not to understand. Our minds are often racing with counterpoints or arguments while the other person is speaking, which makes genuine understanding nearly impossible. Instead, practice active listening. Focus entirely on what the other person is saying without planning your rebuttal. Nod, maintain eye contact, and use small verbal cues like, I see, or that's interesting, to show engagement. After they finish, summarize what you heard in your own words. So what you're saying is, this simple act validates their perspective and shows you're genuinely paying attention. Here's a real-world example. My uncle is extremely vocal about his political beliefs. In the past, I'd jump in immediately to correct him, which always led to arguments. One day, I tried a different approach. I listened carefully, repeated back his points to ensure I understood, and then calmly shared my perspective. The difference was remarkable. He felt heard, I felt respected, and the conversation was far more productive. Active listening also helps you spot areas of agreement, which brings us closer to finding common ground. Even in heated political debates, there's almost always something you can agree on, values like fairness, community, or family welfare. Highlighting these shared values can reduce tension and create a bridge for more meaningful dialogue. Remember, listening to understand doesn't mean you have to agree. It simply means you're choosing to prioritize respect and connection over winning the conversation. Step 3. Ask thoughtful, open-ended questions. Once you've prepared yourself and practiced active listening, the next step is to guide the conversation with thoughtful, open-ended questions. These are questions that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no, and encourage deeper reflection and dialogue. For example, instead of asking, "Why do you support that policy?" which can sound confrontational, try, "Can you help me understand what experiences shaped your view on this?" Or, "What do you hope will happen if this policy is implemented?" These questions invite the other person to share their perspective while keeping the conversation respectful. Here's a personal story. I was having a tense discussion with my sister about a highly divisive political topic. Instead of immediately challenging her, I asked, "What led you to feel so strongly about this issue?" She paused, reflected, and began to explain her experiences and reasoning. That simple shift from debating to inquiring completely changed the tone of our conversation. We were no longer adversaries. We were people trying to understand each other. Open-ended questions also give you insight into their motivations and values, which can help you frame your points in a way that resonates. For instance, if a family member values security, you can discuss policies from the perspective of safety and stability, rather than ideology. This strategy increases the likelihood that your perspective will be considered without sparking defensiveness. Remember, the goal isn't to trap or challenge them, it's to foster dialogue, build understanding, and uncover common ground. This step alone can transform a potential argument into a meaningful conversation. Step 4. Share your perspective calmly and clearly. After listening and asking thoughtful questions, it's time to share your own perspective, but how you do it matters more than what you say. Speaking calmly and clearly prevents the conversation from escalating into a heated argument. Start by using I statements instead of you statements. For example, say, "I feel concerned about," rather than "you're wrong about." This small shift makes your viewpoint less confrontational and more about expressing your own thoughts and feelings. It keeps the focus on your experience rather than placing blame or judgment. Here's an example from my own experience. I was discussing healthcare policy with a cousin who had very different views. Instead of saying, "You don't understand how this affects people," I said, "I've seen firsthand how this policy impacts families in my community, and it worries me because..." By framing it around my personal experience, the conversation stayed respectful, and my cousin actually listened instead of shutting down. Another key tip is to avoid absolute language, like always or never. Phrases such as "I think" or "in my experience" keep your statements grounded and reduce defensiveness. You're not declaring a universal truth, you're sharing your perspective, which invites dialogue rather than argument. Finally, remember that silence can be powerful. After sharing your perspective, pause and allow the other person to respond. Resist the urge to fill every silence with more arguments. This demonstrates confidence, respect, and self-control, and often encourages a more thoughtful response. Step 5. Find common ground and agree to disagree when necessary. Even after careful listening and calm communication, you may not reach full agreement, and that's okay. The goal is not to convert your family member to your perspective, but to maintain respect, understanding, and connection.
Before we proceed, if you're finding real value in learning how to navigate tough conversations, then you're going to love what we've put together for you. It's called the Difficult Dialogue Toolkit Workbook, your hands-on guide to mastering communication in the moments that matter most. Inside, you'll find practical exercises, reflection prompts, and step-by-step frameworks designed to help you handle conflicts, give feedback effectively, and turn tension into trust, whether at work, at home, or in your relationships. Think of it as your personal roadmap to calm, confident, and constructive conversations, no matter how challenging they get. You can grab your copy right now using the link in the description below. Now, let's continue from where we left off.
Common ground is the key. Start by identifying areas of agreement, no matter how small. It could be shared values like wanting a safer community, better education, or family well-being. Highlighting these points demonstrates that despite political differences, you share core principles. For example, in a heated discussion about taxes, I might say, I think we both agree that families should have access to resources that help them thrive. That small acknowledgement can reduce tension and remind both parties that you're not enemies. Sometimes you'll realize there's no point of agreement, and that's where agreeing to disagree becomes essential. It's a mature way to end a discussion without resentment. For example, I've had conversations where my uncle and I couldn't see eye to eye on certain policies. Instead of escalating, I said, "We see this differently, and that's okay. I respect your perspective, and I hope we can focus on the values we share." By framing it respectfully, the relationship remains intact, and the conversation doesn't damage your bond. This step also protects your emotional well-being. By accepting that not every conversation will lead to agreement, you prevent unnecessary stress, resentment, and ongoing conflict. It's a powerful way to preserve both your relationships and your own mental health. Step 6. Set boundaries and manage emotional triggers. Even with preparation, active listening, and thoughtful dialogue, political conversations can still trigger strong emotions. That's why setting boundaries is essential for protecting both yourself and the relationship. Start by identifying your triggers. These could be certain topics, phrases, or attitudes that tend to provoke frustration or anger. Once you know them, decide in advance how you'll respond. For example, if a family member begins speaking disrespectfully, you might say, "I want to continue this conversation, but I need it to stay respectful. Let's pause if it becomes personal." Setting boundaries like this signals that you value both the discussion and your emotional safety. A personal example, during a family holiday, a cousin repeatedly interrupted me and raised his voice. Instead of reacting angrily, I calmly said, "I'm happy to discuss this, but let's speak one at a time so we both can be heard." That simple boundary immediately diffused tension, and the conversation continued constructively. Managing your emotional triggers also means regulating your own reactions. Take deep breaths, count to 10 if necessary, or even excuse yourself briefly to reset. The goal is to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Over time, practicing these techniques builds resilience, making it easier to handle politically charged conversations without emotional exhaustion. By setting boundaries and managing triggers, you maintain control over the conversation, preserve your relationships, and create space for meaningful dialogue, even in the most challenging political debates. Step 7. Practice empathy and perspective taking. One of the most powerful tools in navigating political disagreements is empathy. Understanding where your family member is coming from, even if you strongly disagree, can completely change the tone and outcome of a conversation. Empathy doesn't mean you have to agree. It means you acknowledge their experiences and feelings. Ask yourself, what life experiences or fears might be shaping their views. When you approach the discussion with curiosity instead of judgment, it opens the door for deeper connection. For example, I once had a heated discussion with my aunt about immigration policies. Initially, I was frustrated and defensive, but when I asked her to share why she felt strongly, she spoke about her own struggles growing up in an under-resourced community. Understanding her perspective allowed me to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively, and the conversation became a respectful exchange rather than a debate. Practical ways to practice empathy include reflecting back what they've said in your own words, asking clarifying questions without judgment, acknowledging emotions. I can see why this issue would feel important to you. By practicing empathy, you move the conversation from confrontation to connection. Even if you disagree, the other person feels heard and you maintain the integrity of your relationship. Over time, this approach encourages more open and respectful dialogue, creating a family culture where differences can exist without damaging bonds. Step 8. Use humor and lightness to diffuse tension. Sometimes, despite all the preparation, listening, and empathy, political conversations with family can feel heavy or tense. In these moments, humor can be a powerful tool to break the tension, if used thoughtfully and respectfully. Lighthearted comments or gentle jokes can remind everyone involved that you're still family first, even if your opinions differ. Humor signals that you're not taking the disagreement personally and can help reset the energy of the conversation. For instance, I once had a long debate with my brother about a controversial policy. Midway through, I jokingly said, "Well, if we agreed on everything, family dinners would be way too boring." The room broke into laughter and the tension eased. After that, we could continue the discussion without raised voices or defensiveness. Key tips for using humor effectively include: keep it light, not sarcastic or mocking. Avoid targeting the other person or their beliefs. Use self-deprecating humor when appropriate. Laughing at your own quirks can make others more receptive. Humor is not a substitute for empathy or active listening, but it can act as a reset button. When used strategically, it keeps the conversation human, approachable, and even enjoyable, turning a potentially stressful political debate into a moment of connection. Step 9. Know when to pause or end the conversation. Even with the best strategies, some political discussions can become overwhelming, unproductive, or emotionally draining. Recognizing when to pause or end the conversation is a critical skill that protects both your mental health and your relationships. Signs it's time to step back include raised voices, personal attacks, or a cycle of repeating the same points without progress. When you notice these signs, calmly suggest a break. For example, "I think we're both passionate about this topic and I want us to stay respectful. Let's take a break and revisit this later." This communicates care for the relationship while maintaining boundaries. A personal example, I was once in a debate with a cousin where emotions escalated quickly. Rather than continuing and risking resentment, I paused the conversation, went for a short walk, and returned later with a calmer mindset. By stepping away, we were able to resume the discussion constructively and even found some common ground we hadn't before. Pausing or ending a conversation doesn't mean failure. It means you value the relationship more than winning an argument. It also gives everyone time to reflect, cool down, and approach the topic with renewed patience and understanding. Step 10. Reflect and learn after the conversation. After a political conversation with a family member, it's essential to take time to reflect. What went well? What triggered tension? What could you do differently next time? Reflection helps you improve your communication skills and strengthens your relationships over time. Start by asking yourself questions like, Did I stay calm and respectful throughout? Did I truly listen and try to understand their perspective? Were there moments I could have used empathy or humor to diffuse tension? What boundaries worked and which ones need adjusting? For example, after a challenging discussion with my uncle, I reflected on how often I interrupted him in my eagerness to respond. I realized that slowing down, asking more questions, and listening fully could improve future conversations. The next time we talked, our discussion flowed much more smoothly, and I felt more confident and in control. Reflection also includes celebrating small wins. Even if you didn't reach full agreement, acknowledge moments where you stayed calm, found common ground, or shared your perspective clearly. These small victories build confidence and create a foundation for healthier, more productive conversations in the future. Over time, this cycle of preparation, active engagement, and reflection transforms how you handle disagreements, not just politically, but in all areas of life. A few years ago, I faced what I thought would be an impossible conversation. My cousin and I had completely opposite political views, and family gatherings had become tense and awkward. I dreaded even sitting at the same table. One holiday, we ended up in a heated discussion about a controversial issue. I felt my blood pressure rising, ready to snap. But then I remembered the strategies I'd learned. Pause, breathe, listen, and ask questions. Instead of diving into a rebuttal, I asked, "Can you help me understand why this matters so much to you?" She explained her experiences in a way I had never considered, and I realized that I had been judging her without fully listening. I responded calmly with my perspective, using I statements, and we both had a laugh over a humorous side note that broke the tension. By the end of that conversation, we didn't agree on the issue, and that's okay, but something powerful happened. I felt connected, respected, and even closer to my cousin than before. That day, I realized that political disagreements don't have to break relationships. They can actually strengthen them if handled with empathy, boundaries, and thoughtful communication. This story serves as a reminder. Even the most divisive conversations can be navigated successfully with preparation, active listening, and emotional intelligence. To summarize, navigating political disagreements with family members is challenging, but it is entirely possible with the right approach. Start by preparing yourself mentally and setting clear intentions. Listen to understand, not just to respond, and guide the conversation with thoughtful, open-ended questions. Share your perspective calmly using I statements, and always look for common ground while being willing to agree to disagree when necessary. Set boundaries and manage your emotional triggers. Practice empathy and perspective taking, and use humor or lightness to diffuse tension. Know when to pause or end the conversation, and take time afterward to reflect and learn from the experience. By applying these strategies consistently, you can turn potentially stressful discussions into opportunities for connection, understanding, and growth. Remember, it's not about winning an argument. It's about preserving relationships, fostering respect, and communicating authentically. With practice, you'll find that even the most difficult conversations can become productive and even transformative. If you found value in today's video, I'd love to hear from you. Share your experiences with political disagreements in the comments. What strategies have worked for you, and what challenges do you still face? Let's create a space where we can learn from each other and support one another in having respectful, meaningful conversations. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos packed with practical tips on navigating tough talks, building empathy, and strengthening your relationships. Remember, with a little preparation, empathy, and the right tools, you can bridge any divide and communicate more authentically.
If today's episode helped you see conversations in a new light, imagine what could happen if you had a full toolkit in your hands, one that guides you through every difficult dialogue life throws your way. That's exactly what the Difficult Dialogue Toolkit workbook was created for. It's more than just a workbook. It's your communication companion, packed with exercises, scripts, and mindset tools that transform anxiety into confidence and conflict into connection. Thousands of people are already using it to strengthen their relationships, lead better at work, and finally say what needs to be said with empathy and impact. So if you're serious about becoming a better communicator, click the link in the description right now and get your copy today. Don't just listen. Start practicing the skills that change conversations and change lives. Thank you for watching Bridging Conversations, where we turn hard talks into healing talks. Until next time, keep bridging, keep growing, and keep the dialogue going.